we're going to have to table the striker discussion for a little while and get into something a little more specific, which is the bans, the map, and everything that comes with that. So maybe giving a little more context, more shape to this whole thing.
Yeah, hopefully we can get that first map opener. Looks like we're seeing the ban pick right now. Team Reject already dropping the first ban.
Okay, taking Inferno out.
Inferno, which, I mean, Inferno being this, I would say, the newest comer versus, and that's the Aquila ban, I believe.
Okay.
So Inferno being, I think, a real newcomer in terms of, like, not many teams having used it before. It makes a lot of sense as a first ban. I'm like, okay, let's just simplify the game. This is not something we want to deal with. We don't want to deal with the change-ups that Inferno could bring.
You know, removing both Inferno and Aquila as well is removing a lot of burst potential from the game.
Yeah.
This, to me, really emphasizes a favorable tank game, because you're not going to have the ability to just take them out or focus them in the same ways you would when you do have these two strikers available.
Yeah, that's a great point. These are two of the best tank breakers for some of these turret-heavy styles, which means I think eyes on the Stegos and the Triceras, if they do group up, stack on objectives, they could be incredibly potent. Also, without Aquila, I think takes a little bit of the pressure off of Illuminate. I think Aquila, for me at least, has been one of the better strikers at assassinating those opponent supports.
Not surprised to see Welkin, however. I am surprised to see Cuckoo considering picking Panaka this early.
I mean, Panaka, to come in this early, it's a very different support character, right? With the ability to summon these walls and protect allies. Has very different sort of utility. We are going to be opening here on Graceland Sky City, so this is ultimately an elimination deathmatch game mode. Teams are playing to get the first 6 eliminations in each round, but we'll play a best-of-3 round structure here.
Maybe makes Panaka make a little more sense now that I'm thinking about it that way. With the stall, with the extra shielding that Panaka has, you can keep somebody from being bursted out. And because this is first to 6 kills, every single elimination matters, and it impacts your team as well, because they've got to keep fighting while you're gone. So this first round is going to be, I think, a lot more bloodthirsty than I would have otherwise imagined had we gone anywhere but Graceland Sky City. And now that we're here, I can't help but wonder, will we see this clash of playstyles where they both run at each other, or are we going to draw this thing out?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you could be super aggressive and trying to find pickoffs. As we're seeing, look at this heavy high ground tanking setup here from Team Reject. Having the high ground should be pretty powerful. They're able to pump down damage from range. Here we see Stego set up with the shield. And the flanking damage heavy in from Falcon. This high ground advantage is pretty massive here. Team MDY trying to fight it out from the low ground.
Yeah, you just don't have that many options. And now they commit. This is a really nice move out of Reject to finally take advantage of the damage that they put down. Jump down onto the low ground. Kurara, of course, really supporting fire. And you can see what we were talking about. It's fun to watch Falcon.
Now Falcon here in the enemy welcome box, though, but the damage is overwhelming. The rest of Team Reject trying to come in, trying to continue to support. 1 elimination each, though, so both teams still on even footing here.
Cuckoo's Panaka got picked out early, though, so MDY down a big support during this time as well. Now Cuckoo's finally back into the game, and Reject have lost one as well. Still 2-1 in favor of Reject, but Kurara temporarily disengaging opens us up to take a look at a Narukami in Graceland Sky City.
Yeah, Narukami's able to just pump damage. There's no one really able to pressure right now, but you're seeing the tanks from MDY are still holding strong, still managing to maintain this position. They're really using those Welkin boxes defensively, but the opposing Welkin with that drone swarm is able to shut down the enemy box, open up for damage here. Reject pushing for more. They're all surrounding them. MDY continuing to hold this high ground platform, though. Yeah. Despite it being 2-1, this is going better for them than I would have expected.
Yeah, but it's a big turnaround since Reject initially committed onto the lower ground. Now they've got to drop even further, and MDY actually doing very well. Might be able to pick up a kill on Yachty here. Falcon is really hard to shake off your tail, especially when they're focused, but I'm not seeing the scan up, and MDY gets focused, has to give up on the kill for now. Still 2-1, but MDY on the verge of finding another kill, I'm sure.
It seems like the fight is really broken up, gotten very chaotic. Falcons here in a Sky Duel, coming back to peel for the Narukami. Are Team Rejects, and they're up 1, so in the end they can play this a little bit more patiently, a little more slowly. It's MDY who's got more patiently, a little more slowly. It's MDY who's got to change something.
This is the dogfighting that makes playing Falcon, playing Sky Raider so exciting. We are still seeing this high ground, low ground disparity, though, as Reject have managed to take this again. It worked out really well for them at the start of the match, but MDY have not moved a single inch. Largely, they have stayed in the exact same place since the beginning, and though they are down by just 1 elimination, it's, oh my lord! It's 2 more kills to Reject!
The Stego from the high ground is absolutely pumping damage, and now Welkin going to commit in, diving in with the spin, able to pump big damage here. Just 2 more kills for Reject to win this round, to secure it. They're looking for those pickoffs. They know they've already got an advantage here in this team fight. Spawn's coming soon, though, for MDY, so Reject need to find something in the next few seconds.
Oh, they got this. Five kills now as Carrara picks up Feiju. I'm looking for that last low health bar, but with a lot of people on the respawn now, MDY are going to have to put up a big fight. Carrara finds an isolated, a very low Tricera, but inside the smoke as well. This haze disrupting everything, stalls out the game for just a little longer. MDY even things up a little more, moving up to 4 kills.
MDY, they're staying alive. That was such a clutch smoke from the Stego. Keeps the rest of the squad alive, but just 1 more kill will cost them this round. Reject, they're desperate, but they're down 2 here. Maybe overextending, maybe needing to back out and regroup as MDY are trying to snatch this round back, and they're making this incredibly close despite the early opening advantage. Now retaking this platform position. They've been very committed here, really believing in the power of this, and you can see why. They're very tanky. They're very hard to shut down. Now they make a move for ultimate height.
Okay. I was scared to see MDY moving all the way down again, but grouping up on this high ground could be the very thing that wins them the game. It's time to see Reject swap up their strategy. Since they were able to take that high ground earlier, they're not even playing for middle ground right now. They are really leaving Carrara to do most of the work and just shooting up aimlessly at the sky.
I mean, they could just run the clock here, right? MDY, they need to find 1 more pickoff. As long as Reject is careful, they don't drop any. I think MDY is going to have to get off this high ground. They're going to have to make some kind of a play. It looks like they're starting to do just that, making a move, but taking a lot of damage on rotation.
Carrara now runs the high ground. Like you said, time is ticking. Just a few seconds left, and Carrara is really applying a lot of pressure, just making this that much harder for MDY to full commit with full health bars.
And Carrara taking a lot of that vision aggro as well, keeping the enemy team focused on him. Remember, just 1 more pickoff will be enough. Reject trying to hold it down here with all the defensive utility. Clock running against MDY. They need to find 1 more, but so far it looks to be difficult here. Reject holding on for just 1 more second. Oh, and they tied it! Oh, and then overtime in the last second? Was that MDY?
That
went down to the
timer?
last second.
Oh my lord.
No way.
I can't believe they tied that.
I don't think I've seen a round that close, and it's our opener.
And we do it again. So this is, by the way, a different map in Graceland Sky City. So small change up of the terrain. Similar strategies, though. Reject again, taking high ground. MDY opting into the lower.
Yeah, we've seen ultimate height actually be really powerful on the second round of Graceland Sky City. Now, both teams setting up these heavy tanky setups, but Reject once again on the ultimate height. I mean, they've been winning the trades from this position on the other map. And so I wonder, will MDY have to change something to stay alive? Mingwei taking a lot of pressure on that armor here on the Falcon. Really crucial to manage that. Seems like he's being flanked. Got to watch for this dogfight duel in the skies.
Keeping your eyes on the energy as well. The management of that from these Falcons is being put to the test, especially as they're having to evade so much. Carrara not giving Mingyue a second, but every moment that Carrara spends on Mingyue is pressure that he's not applying to the rest of MDY.
Yeah, the Falcon duel is super interesting, right? The rest of the team is playing this full turret fight, and this actually this dogfight that could be deciding. It seems like those heavy turret setups just very hard to actually secure an elimination. You know, both teams able to be more defensive than offensive. Maybe this Falcon fight is where we're most likely to see something break open.
Carrara, really good use of the downward spiral, keeping Mingyue in vision. This swift descent for Mingyue doesn't actually keep him safe,
Big damage.
though. Those missiles are the largest part of Falcon's ability to impact the game.
And, I mean, these low ground turret setups are really getting a lot of pressure here. Mingyue got bursted down with the rest of the squad showing up. Now, Team Reject stabilizing on the high ground. Yachty, once again, pumping damage from range on Narukami.
And Reject once more in the lead. We saw MDY clutch things up in the last game, so could still pull ahead. Still got a little bit of time, 3 minutes, in fact. So MDY playing things slowly. I love that Yachty is able to... my Narukami games are never this chill. I'm always being hounded by the Falcon.
Vibing. He's doing his thing. I mean, the choice to have the Welkin play such a defensive position there really is making MDY hard to shut down. But once again, I mean, Team Reject, they have the 1 kill advantage. Will that be enough for them to continue to play the clock and force MDY into some aggression?
Mingyue actually maybe being picked off again. Now he's got Yachty and Carrara on him, and Yachty's already done quite a bit of damage. Mingyue has very low HP. With fluid armor already broken, we could see another kill go up, and at that point, Reject would have to start playing a lot more conservatively.
Feiju taking a lot of pressure on this welcome, using everything defensively. He's so low, getting sniped from different angles by Narukami, trying to get into this heal. Seems like the fog from Stego is enough to get him back to having some decent HP. And man, the tankiness from MDY is unreal. Personally, I just want to see the Stego damage numbers. These Stegos are going to be at like 5 million damage after this game.
They never let go of left click. It's a completely unending. Yachty again under pressure, so we know that Ming-Yue is in the area. And it has been, to his credit, really doing quite well despite having been picked off just the once, making sure that Yachty can't free fire, which is basically Narukami's win condition.
And now Feiju as well is coming out of the map, trying to mix it up. Add some flanking pressure here, helping Ming-Wei to pressure Narukami. So it's a little bit of a change up strategically for MDY, who I think are struggling to find much here.
Oh my lord, that is the Narukami dream. Taken out of Falcon from half HP. Absolutely
look at the damage exchange here is ridiculous. And this also is an opening for Kurara, right? To start just pumping damage onto that main group, no longer having to worry about helping to peel away Ming-Wei. He can just start laying on that high ground damage, but you see that, man, the smoke from Stego, that's what's blocking all that targeting. It's also regenerating the shields for MDY, what's allowing them to survive.
Ming-Yue just respawning now, so going to get back into the fight. This is going to change things once again, and Reject will have to play a slightly more defensive game, maybe with the opportunity to punish this Falcon once again. I gotta say, it's really difficult to watch the way that this has been punished, because I think that Ming-Yue actually has a really good read. However, with Jam getting low, Kurara does commit into the low ground with the Falcon missiles, doesn't do quite enough damage, and is trying to pick off this Tricera. Will he do it? Hits the downward spiral and hits the elimination. Tricera down, and that is going to be another kill picked up for Reject. MDY, though, moving up to 2 as Yachty goes down.
Yeah, Ming-Wei was able to trade in that moment. Kurara does get caught by the Welkin box. Welkin trying to get that, but Kurara so mobile, flies out of there, is going to get the escape. It's 3-2 here. Graceland Sky City, Reject trying to even this one up. They do have 2 players down, so MDY have a bit of a power play, and they're charging forward onto the setup, but this is a very tanky position for Reject.
15.
They're trying to fight it out. The brawl here on the low ground. Feiju now evens the game, 3-3. Clock does not matter, but MDY, they know they have the player advantage. They're pushing forward for more. Tricera trying to tank through everything, but it's just Feiju.
Oh no! Feiju goes down! Reject now up 5-4, and that is going to be our second round going to Reject, evening things up between them and MDY.
Oh my, they just keep coming down to the wire. And the fall off the map, that is brutal.
It is. Oy, 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 but it brings us to this third round. Man, it is close between Reject and MDY. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good, Jake.
And this is going to be the most interesting map, I think, of the 3, because there's not an obvious ultimate height turret location where we've seen both teams really playing that the last 2 rounds. Now they're forced to make a change up for the deciding round of Graceland Sky City. We're here with Ming-Wei on the Falcon, starting to scout out the position. He's trying to see where Team Reject are playing, coming in from the flank. Both Falcons pressuring the opponent backlines.
Kurara, not a care in the world, finally finds Ming-Yue, so we could engage in a bit of dogfighting here. Reject have chosen to play the low ground, the cover. Easy to flank, but still difficult to take a full-on siege from. And MDY, I'll be honest, do not look interested in reciprocating. They're not dropping down.
Yeah, both teams, so much tension here, right? This is the first map of the tournament. Everyone's watching. I wish you guys could hear, the sound here in the player area. After that fall off the map, everyone was oohing and eyeing. There's a lot of eyes on this game here in Zhuhai, China.
Got some Falcon scans out, so that means Narukami's in trouble. In fact, I'm looking at Yachty's health bar in the upper left, and it is low, low, low. So maybe having found a little bit of safety for right now as Kurara does commit to take Ming-Yue off their back. LQ going to come in as well just to try and make things a little bit safer for Ming-Yue, who has been the real lever for MDY, constantly sending this Falcon out. The rest of the team stays grouped up, and it's up to Ming-Yue to get a lot of the focus from Reject.
Yeah, speaking of focus, Feiju just went in and tanked the entire enemy team, pulled their attention on himself, and got out alive, so that helped Ming-Yue reset a little bit. Ming-Yue is still low armor, so this dogfight starting to go Kurara's way. Gets a little bit of help from that healing drone, Lumine, coming in. And MDY starting to put the pressure on here, right? They're starting to pile on and attack. Team Reject's trying to regroup inside the base here. But they're being surrounded a little bit. Seems like MDY are getting a bit of a positional advantage, but can they actually capitalize for kills?
MDY is just, they could not be less interested in dropping down onto the low ground.
Believe me, you come into this house, you're going to have a bad time. You got to be very, very careful coming inside against that turret setup. Yeah. MDY are electing to focus, hunt, and peck around the outskirts of the fight.
And it is just this constant teasing from Reject. They'll dip out for a little while. They'll see what they can find, but when it comes really right down to it, they're getting inside again, and they are betting that you will not come to them. And having seen this, I don't think that's a bad bet. Carrara, however, going a little bit low, maybe a source of concern, as I'm not seeing any repair drones on him just yet, but doesn't seem to have a care in the world as he just pumps a little bit more damage into MDY, backs off. Welkin Box used aggressively onto Feiju, though, could be a problem. Feiju going to go down, and that is going to be the first kill going to Reject.
Big opener for Shomaru. MDY down 1, but they put a lot of damage down, so Reject are trying to just regroup, trying to not give up any counter picks. That's going to put them at a 1-0 advantage. They can just stabilize here. Seems that they are inside. But look at this pressure coming down from the Tricera, pumping damage. Reject forced to hide, forced to get out of this line of sight. Just too much damage coming through this.
And now that MDY are at a disadvantage, they have fully had to back off the high ground that they had and just commit into the game that Reject want. Ultimately, you're going to have to rely now on your ability to outplay, something that MingYue has been doing very frequently, just constantly teasing Reject, but it still hasn't resulted in an advantage this round for MDY, so something yet to be achieved as MingYue dips, dives, dodges, loses all of their fluid armor, but is still somehow alive and chilling.
Yeah, this lack of high ground control means that it's hard for Reject to come finish off these kills. MingYue, though, running from Carrara into the dogfight, knows this is an opportunity to score another point for the squad. MingYue under a lot of pressure, low in the energy. The burst comes through, and Carrara wins the dogfight again for Team Reject.
Those missiles really doing a lot of damage. Falcon, incredible burst potential when you're able to line them all up. Feiju trapped on the inside right now as Reject dashing around the outer edge of this building. So having committed to the center earlier, they've now backed off. 2-0 advantage, 45 seconds left in this game. Reject should be able to sit back and win this.
Yeah, they should be able to play it slow as they have all around, but MDY have been great in these final moment clutch scenarios. Now, Team Reject making a big move to the high ground. In the last moment, they're under the cover of that Stego smoke, allowing them to take the position, but MDY looking to get stuck in, looking to change their fortunes here in the final round of Graceland Sky City.
It's good to get aggressive now, forcing the enemy team to burn a lot of their cooldowns. Reject should be out of a lot of their big defensive emergency buttons, and MDY commit fully. I'm not seeing any low health bars, though, and Feiju instead gets parried, gets locked down, gets flashed, and now could go down. Feiju, 1 HP, going to fall again, and Reject up 3-0 with 4 seconds left. It looks like Reject are walking away with this first round.
It's desperation here for MDY, and they can't get it done. That's Reject taking map 1, and what was honestly a nail-biter. I thought that was going to be more dominant looking at some of those opening positions that the teams are able to take on Graceland Sky City. But for an opening map of the tournament, pretty interesting. Already a clash of styles. We already saw Panaka, we saw the Narukami, we saw some major dogfights from Falcon, and I think at this level of play, that's going to be a mainstay. Those Falcons looking for what they can do, be so mobile, playing on their own, as you mentioned, and really exciting here to see Carrara, I think, take an early advantage in that duel in map 1.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I really liked the way that, of course, cinematically we got to see this, but even stylistically, the way that these two Falcons were serving very different purposes. MingYue was almost the initiator for the squad, and Carrara, on the other hand, was very much the jack of all trades. You need me somewhere? I'm going to be there. I'm going to fix that.
Yeah, and the Panaka really worked out with this style that Reject were going for. Very patient, very slow. You got to remember, I mean, in an elimination game mode, of course the objective is to pick off the opponent, but you understand your opponent's objective is to pick you up. So playing these, survival-based strategies where you're just too difficult to break in these incredibly tanky setups, it's definitely going to make teams start to think about, okay, do we need to ban maybe the Tricera or the Stego in these deathmatch focus maps? Because honestly, that looks incredibly hard to shut down. The Stego, when you see that blue smoke come out where the enemy looks untargetable, and they're also, if you didn't realize, regenning their armor, their fluid armor in that smoke, incredibly powerful when you're all going to group up and you're getting that area of effect utility on the rest of your squad. That's what's allowing them to really tolerate all the focus fire from the opposing team.
And I know that a lot of people are going to look at games and strikers and go, okay, Welkin is the fellow with the big axe that just boxes me and runs at me. In this particular game, especially the first 2 rounds with the high-low ground disparity, Welkin is being used in almost the same way as like an accessory to Stego. Oh, you need a little bit of extra HP? Let me pop the box. Let me pop the gas. Make you even more difficult to take down, not because I'm in their face, but because I'm providing a lot of extra HP in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, how teams bring very different styles to even some of the same strikers, right? We might see Welkin in another game mode being played much more aggressively, much more actively. curious to see what MDY are going to take us to on map 2 and whether they're going to try to adapt with any of these hero bans. It's going to be they're going to need to do something to change the script because Reject looked very prepared in that opening map.
And that was with no Aquila, no Inferno too. So now we're opening things up to, you can't ban either of those again, likely higher damage games. And it's funny watching how this played out on Graceland Sky City because the fact that you did eliminate so much damage also drew these games out so long since you didn't have the burst.
Normally, yeah, Inferno and Aquila are two of the best at, like, okay, if you're going to sit back and just let me pump damage, those are two of the highest damage output characters in the game. So by having both of them out, it allowed these incredibly tanky setups. You mentioned using the well in box defensively, just tanking through everything with the Welkin. I mean, very, very interesting that it worked out that way with these particular bans. Also that the Narukami was unmatched in the sniper. So I think Narukami allowed Reject that they're comfortable. They're sitting back, letting Narukami pump the damage. That's the sniper, letting Falcon get in there and also put the pressure on, forcing enemy to come deal with your incredibly tanky turret setup.
Yeah, and I was impressed because I don't really see Yachty, at least in the scrims so far, flexing between Aquila and Narukami that often, so the ban must have been a really big wrench thrown in. The Narukami in this particular case worked quite well with the squad. It didn't really cause a lot of issues in terms of the way they wanted to play the game, but also we didn't have that Aquila that would normally be putting down pressure alongside a Falcon. Those two working really well together may actually lean us into a Falcon ban a little later on if Yachty wants to keep running Narukami.
Yeah, Falcon I think would be a very impactful ban to come out on an individual striker because there's really not a replacement for Falcon. I mean, Sky Raider also offers that flying potential, but at this level of play, I think very hard to stay alive on Sky Raider, right? The potential to be focus fired much higher, where Falcon has the advantage in the maneuverability. You see those Falcons doing all those like crazy moves, you know, flying around in the sky. That's making them much more difficult to target, much more difficult to focus down. And that's, I mean, that's crucial on a map like Graceland Sky City. If you shut down the Falcon, that's a point on the board, right? And we saw how just a 1-point advantage could really force teams into over-aggressive maneuvers there in the deathmatch map.
Yeah, and just to talk a little bit more about the difference between these two flyers is we are between games, so we get the chance to dive a little bit deeper into this stuff. It's like you're talking about, maybe a little less maneuverable than Falcon, a little slower than Falcon, but specifically being the one of two flyers that doesn't have the downward spiral. I mean, how often did we see downward spiral from Falcon in that game alone be used to cancel the upwards loop? That was just, you know, very nicely done to gain a little bit of altitude, use that altitude to keep somebody in your crosshairs. Sky Raider can't do that. Sky Raider just has this sort of like run in, dump everything play style that you're then surviving on with the loop-de-loops.
Yeah, and the challenge is, you know, can you actually stay alive when there's a Falcon chasing you down? You know, like, or even more threatening, I think, is something like the Aquila. Now that it's no longer able to be banned, right? They can come in for Team Rejects if they want to bring it. Could put even more pressure on Mingwei, who is potentially struggling, and I think some of the team play from Rejects was making that difficult, that they have the Narukami able to help burst down. Saw that in the first round. I think Yachty finding a couple of pickoffs there. Thinking about MVPs here, who do you feel like was the MVP on Graceland Sky City?
Man, that's difficult. Because
it's the hardest map type, I think, to predict the MVP on because it's so kill focused, right? So it's not like there's just an objective, who's playing the objective the most effectively. I'm kind of a Stego believer. I feel like, look, all right? Maybe I'm a Stego abuser, all right? I will not comment on those allegations. However, I want to see the post-match stats when we can get those up for the audience, because I think there's going to be some unbelievable damage numbers. The way those two teams are playing, I mean, they're healing through a lot of the damage, but Stego is eating good in those situations.
It's going to be ludicrous, because I know that, like, in the actual MVP calculations, it does calculate damage, the amount of kills you got, and the objectives, because the objective is kills, and there were only 6 of them for your team. When you're putting up probably like 3 to 5 million,
it's actually, I feel like I'm going to say north of 4 million damage for Stego. I've never done that before, but just the way those teams are playing, I feel like, and it's got to be, I mean, Reject had the high ground for some of those fights. You got to imagine Stego is just pressing all his buttons, just doing his thing, vibing.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. As much as I love me some Tricera,
it was Carrara.
Okay, whoa. It's probably because he has 4 kills. It's probably
in fairness. I mean, a lot of the pick kills right in this overall game were from Carrara winning the Sky Duel, and I thought the game would award MVP to the Stego for just the ridiculous damage they could have pumped. But this is, I mean, I actually agree with this. I think Carrara was the most impactful player for me in this opening map with being able to win those Sky Duels in the Falcon. It's what forced MDY into some of these over-aggressive moves.
I'm just writing this down so that I can reference it later. 1.7 damage from the super active Falcon that was everywhere and got 4 kills. When we eventually get our stats, I do want to compare this, but it has to be said, you know, this damage was effective from Kurara. It was often saving his teammates, specifically Yachty, who was being targeted, from going down, as well as providing the actual kills to the team with some really well-timed burst.
Super impactful what they were able to get done there. I love that.
He's got the good attitude. He's like, oh my God.
Am I on camera? Am I on camera?
I think looking into his eyes, I think he knows he's on camera. After that first game, I'd be pretty confident about it as well.
That's map 1 going for Team Reject. So MDY, I mean, this is a best-of-3 series, you got to remember. So you lose one more map, you will be dropping to the lower bracket for Team MDY. So they've got to lock in, take us to their best map here. They do have map picks, so they have the option to really set the tone of the series and something that maybe is more favorable, more comfortable for them.
I know that MDY has maybe taken a little bit further of an approach today as well. I think the pressure of having this be the first match of the entire tournament, the first match for them on stage.
Everyone's watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's really dialed up because they are a team that is often in here, is often scrimming. Today, they've actually been very quiet. They haven't scrimmed nearly as much. Even when I saw Reject in here earlier, I was concerned initially for MDY as to whether they'd be able to show up and be warm. It's very clear that they are warm. I think it really is just a mentality thing right now that they've got to overcome moving into the second round and beyond, because the pressure may be on, but at the same time, think of how much good you can achieve here.
Yeah, and the advantage for Team Reject, taking a look, some of the highlights here from Graceless Sky City. There's some slow engagements, but when they pop off, right, like when the commitment comes in from either squad, it is so chaotic. This is when that coordination, I think, is really critical at this level of play.
And the spin to win.
Oh, yo,
not the spin, not the spin to win. Not the spin to win.
We can't be doing them like that on the highlights.
A crazy game. I could not. That first round that went to MDY on the basically overtime.
Ridiculous. I honestly wasn't sure who won the first round. It was so cool. I was like waiting to see.
I thought we were going to overtime.
Yeah, I think it maybe did we, or it just I couldn't tell honestly if they got one extra elimination in the last second. Oh yeah. That's what we like to see it. Respect.
Making use of the gymnasium facilities.
Oh, absolutely here. C7 Games have been good to us. They've been putting this up here in Zhuhai, China, bringing players together from around the world to this beautiful, beautiful part of the country. It's been sunny. It's been gorgeous. We got a little rain here, but man, it's been nice. Today was just hot and beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm not somebody like I've never lived in a place with intermittent rainfall. Where I've lived, if it's raining for about 24 hours, and here like you'll get the maybe 5-10 minutes of rain, but it's
all right. Damage numbers. Hold on.
All right.
Damage numbers.
Me to stop talking about rain. Let's see.
Stay go damage numbers.
I mean, okay, we were comparing. It was Kurara, who he's on the top. That was the 1.7, and then I'm seeing
3.5 million damage from DJ Catling Stego, and Shomaru 3.1 million.
So
the 3 million. I think the highest I ever got in the game was like 1.3 million or something, like 1.4 million. 3.5 million is unreal. How much MDY is just pumping into that Stego.
This is actually wild. But I mean, good numbers, and that's what happens when you draw the game out like this. It may be a death match, but as I've very quickly learned watching these players, that does not necessarily mean it's going to be over quickly.
But yeah, you can also see from those stats, direct damage means damage done beyond the shields to real direct to the enemy health pool, which, Kurara was impressively high, pretty close actually to the opponent's Stego, and that Stego's breaking all this armor. But that damage isn't really being followed through. It's not necessarily leading to kills, scoring you points and winning you that maps. And so, the fact that Kurara are able to deal that high impact direct damage, find those critical shutdown kills on the opposing Falcon, really, really valuable.
And there are a couple of ways that you'll see those stats sort of be skewed, where people like Welk and people like Panther, people like Aquila may have slightly higher direct damage numbers than their regular damage numbers might indicate. Okay, we're gonna go to Palm Bay Harbor for the second. I was hoping we'd go Palm Bay Harbor, specifically because MDY was so committed to the Tricera Stego.
Oh, we're about to see some Tricera Stego. And Elise is going to be the opening ban here.
Ban Falcon, do it. Actually, I mean, on this map,
no,
maybe you don't.
What do you ban?
You're not banning Panaka. You're banning Panaka.
Banning Panaka.
I dare say that's rude.
All right. All right. The Panaka ban don't want to deal with those walls coming down. Could get wild here. So Palm Bay Harbor, if you haven't played Mecha Break, this is a payload race objective game mode. And so what we will see is we see a lot of those crazy turret setups, but instead they're going to be on moving payloads. You're going to be trying to push your payload, capture intermediate objectives to get a little boost on it, or you could get on the enemy payload and roll it backwards if you want to go for that play. So this is definitely an interesting one, a very much more dynamic objective where you do need to defend crucial areas of the map. You don't really have the option to take the ultimate high ground. You could if you want to, but that's going to leave you off the objective, and it's going to leave you exposed.
20 seconds left. Mingyue, are we actually considering not running Falcon, or are we just psyching me out? Because I do think that Palm Bay Harbor is a place where you can forego flyers if you want to opt really heavily into your sniper, but it's still a risk.
Carrara's on Hurricane, so Carrara's not going to run the Falcon.
Okay.
At least so far.
And Mingyue opts into it. This was actually, this is a huge playstyle decision for both teams.
This is a real, and for Team Reject, they're basically all in on the death ball. Like, they are going to have everything stacked together. Hurricane, Stego, this is going to be an ungodly amount of tank.
And now that you've got Falcon and Aquila in the sky, I will say it makes the Aquila a better pick.
Yeah.
You don't want to be focused up in the sky alone, so Falcon's able to apply a little bit of pressure, be annoying, and unlock your full damage potential on the sniper. But like you're talking about, with the ball of death that's going to be coming out from Reject, I just don't imagine that you're going to get a lot of value necessarily out of something like Falcon, just in terms of the numbers, like how much damage you're dealing.
Yeah, Falcon can pump a lot of damage, seeing teams open up here. Immediate move to the high ground for Team MDY, trying to take that position before focusing on the objective. Team Reject playing it relatively slow, but from the low ground, and already an instant open in there. Big pick off by the Aquila from Team Reject. Going to get them a little bit of payload progress. If they want to go for it, though, they're still electing to continue to just pour that damage on from range.
At this point, it's not so much focus on the payloads. You're seeing this become more of a fight for positioning, as you are going to want to capture a central point in just a little while. Watching Mingyue rule the skies is going to be really good, and finds a great angle to destroy some of the Hurricane constructs that will otherwise keep your team from being able to deal effective damage. But now the point's open, and I will say we've got some priority on it from Reject.
It's like Team MDY, though. The payloads, they do have to come up these lifts to the high ground. So if you can just continue to hold the high ground, you are in a strong spot. But hold on, this turret group is really getting pressure. Team MDY, they're struggling to tank. They're starting to split up, and it's Team Reject who really have a bit of a positional advantage here. The all-in commitment on the turrets is really working out for them. They're proving to be the immovable object here, as it looks like pretty much a team wipe brewing here. Reject are just running through MDY.
This better positioning on the side of Reject did them so many favors. Being able to play the low ground, nobody from MDY is even alive right now. This is all Reject all day.
Yeah, and this is going to mean, free capture progress, and Reject are able to roll their opponent's payload back to the start here, so a major advantage developing here for Team Reject. And I think for Team MDY, you almost have to abandon your own payload here. Like, you really just have to try to defend and mitigate some of the advantage. Welcome Box coming in on the Aquila, who doesn't want to fight this close range, is going to be able to get back to the team, and Team Reject in this death ball. So powerful, proving really hard. MDY can't even approach this position.
Yachty back on the Aquila. So as soon as Narukami was not the only sniper option, he did end up going back to this. But like you're talking about, this death ball, especially on Palm Bay, especially now that you have a lead, is crazy. As Reject, you don't even necessarily have to focus MDY, and it becomes more of a how much can MDY do to you. With this composition, I have to say it's not looking like much right now, but it's going to be around these capture points where that can change if and only if MDY are able to find good flank angles.
You've got to win the battle on this capture point, or it's going to be a huge boost in the payload progress for Team Reject. So MDY, they're hitting from all sides. They're on the high ground. So Reject have a great position indoors here. They're tanking through commitment from Tricera, though. MDY, this is their attempt. They're going in. Luminate under a lot of pressure from the flank. So seeing this all-in brawl on the capture point.
MDY are doing really well, but just sitting in the haze. You're getting Reject to avoid a lot of the initial damage, sit on the edge of the point, and now are able to play for retake.
Yeah, but already some pickups coming through. Team Reject with another 2 shutdowns. Team MDY struggling to get into this whatsoever, and your Japanese team looking to take a decisive advantage here. Remember, this is a best-of-3 series. If they win the map here, they will be advancing in the upper bracket. It will be MDY dropped to the lowers, and it's starting to look more and more likely. I mean, MDY really have not been able to dislodge the strategy from Team Reject. They look so well prepared here.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good retake play from Reject, and now they're chilling. I mean, Kurara emoting on cart has nothing to worry about at all. The rest of the fight happening outside and largely just scuttling down because MDY have already lost several players, don't want to re-engage and lose more. You got to wait for the respawn timers.
You think about this indoor section, it's just so hard. Falcon can't really do anything here. I mean, there's just no way to really get in and pump that damage, so the lead is just growing.
And it was a difficult playstyle decision to go with the Falcon or not. We saw Mingyue really debating this. A lot of the pick for Falcon has to be based on how you're playing the first and the last point. This middle bit, you're really not a striker. You have to play a handicapped game, and unfortunately for Mingyue, that's just the stage of the game that we're at right now. However, in the next 2-3 minutes, when the payloads start to exit into the last stretch of Palm Bay Harbor, that's where Mingyue will really be able to make waves.
They are in control of the payload, though, so they're mitigating some of the advantage that could be coming through here. MDY are down 1 player, though, and the welcome box is big. Kurara gets shut down by Cuckoo, so it's a 5-on-5 here. Team Reject elected to continue to brawl it out. Udon on the Welkin now. The pressure comes in. Advantage continuing to grow for Team Reject as they fight it out on the objective. This is a very heavy commitment from the enemy. Tricera from MDY, but he's under way too much pressure. Has to back out of that situation, but it's too little too late. Udon with the cleanup.
And now we're going to get that next point unlocked really shortly. 66 to 43% is not looking good for MDY, but it's far from unwinnable. You've still got quite a ways left to go. It's going to be really up to Cuckoo to lay down damage from above to make the big difference on this point. Right now, completely unfocused on the Aquila. This is where Aquila wants to be, but suddenly that all changes. Some hurricane lasers and a shot from Yachty take him out, and MDY, having lost 2, are sure to lose this point to Reject.
Yeah, they're struggling, and this point capture is really going to catapult Reject even closer. It's really one last team fight here for MDY. They're committing, trying to stall this, but so many players still alive for Reject. They're fighting it out. Macy Fishy drops low, but is able to reposition, get some support from the rest of the squad. MDY, only 4 players on the field, so Team Reject with a real advantage, pushing for more. Aquila would love to finish off some of these, and there, boom, the pickoff onto the Luminate. That shut down some of the support that could come through for Team MDY, so they're going to be lacking sustain in this fight as it goes decisively against them. Now Tricera trying to commit, trying to keep the engagement alive. But MDY, they're dropping like fries. Team Reject, they want to punch their ticket straight through to the upper bracket.
Yachty could not care about this Welkin chasing him. He is all about that Tricera, and somehow alive. Has almost no health left, but gets the fluid armor regen from sitting next to his best friend Stego. Now gets to focus down Mingyue with the team. Not a care in the world as Reject continue moving on forward, and they box in Mingyue, taking him out of the sky.
It's all over with the crying here for MDY. The cart is pushing against them, 95%. 14 Rejects, they pick up even more kills. MDY, 3 strikers left alive. It's a Herculean task here on Palm Bay Harbor as Team Reject are going to go up 2-0 here unless some kind of a miracle can come in here for MDY. But the turret is set up. Tricera camping the objective. MDY, it's desperation now. Coming in, trying to stall things out, but they're just getting murdered on the payload.
Yeah, this death ball composition, as you called it, immediately, such a huge difference maker when you're able to get a lead like this. Palm Bay Harbor starting off in the advantage of Reject. MDY, I mean, they could never even siege that, and I can see why they were nervous coming into today. I will say, having seen these 2 games, I'm still excited, very much so, for MDY. They showed a lot of style, and I love the confidence from Mingyue moving into the second round, choosing to lock in the Falcon again, knowing I am just that good. I am going to make a difference. And while they might not have won, I'm looking forward to seeing what that Falcon can do later.
Yeah, for Team Reject, though, I put a lot of respect on Kurara to come in and have a great performance, an MVP on map 1 on Falcon, and then to swap it up completely, play Hurricane. almost a 180 in terms of a playstyle change, right? So Falcon is this highly mobile flyer. We were on his cam a lot in that first map. We really, was a lot of exciting, high mechanical plays to watch. But then on the Hurricane, it's all about defensive utility. It's about grouping with the squad, playing that death ball with the rest of Team Reject. So for Carrara, having that versatility and being able to just completely 180 your playstyle when the objective, when the team strategy demands it, I think this is really a great showing, great opening here for Team Rejects in this tournament.
It has been. I'm very, very happy to see them playing at this high a level because they were working out a lot of kinks in their gameplay this morning. But what I'm seeing is exactly what you talked about, already rewarded, the adaptability that came in with the swap up from Falcon to Hurricane, two entirely different playstyles, really made the biggest difference. Hurricane provided so much utility in terms of capping points, in terms of keeping the payload safe, that you simply can't do on Falcon, and you can't do that with somebody who's well-versed in both strikers.
Yeah, and Palm Bay Harbor, I think, in terms of maps, it's almost the furthest away from Graceland Sky City, with these all the objective is fight in like this one critical location on the payload. And so I think the choice to run the extra death ball commitment in a Hurricane really paid off, and it showed that for Team MDY, like, the Falcon is super popular. We've seen it played on a ton of maps, seen it be almost a mainstay in terms of how popular it is, but Rejects, we don't need it on this map. We're going to run a strategy that we concede the skies to you, but we're going to be so powerful there on the ground, especially in those indoor segments of the map, that, like, they were able to consolidate their lead so much, winning all of those intermediate goal capture points.
Yeah, and once we got into the later stages of the game as well, I mean, you could tell Reject were playing knowing they were in the lead. Watching Yachty be able to sit back and I called it out in the moment. Focus a Tricera when there's a Welkin in your face. That's a sniper who knows that they don't have to worry about winning the game. They have to worry about just checking things off the list. Tricera is a big threat to my team. I'm going to take out Tricera. I'm not going to worry about my own life.
That's a big factor when you're trying to fight some of these really tanky strikers. Is one player alone isn't going to have the damage really to get through something like a Tricera. Like, in general, a lot of times in a pure 1v1 in this game, most players could just have the option to back out, but the game's not about 1v1s. It's about these big team moments, big team battles of coordination, of focus fire. We hear when the players are scrimming, there's a lot of focus fire calls. Really, that's the key, I think, to breaking things open at this level.
I'm going to make this call again. I'm going to make this call before we see it, by the way. I think Carrara probably got the MVP again this time.
Okay.
Because I saw him for that whole middle stretch sitting on the payload.
That's a fair point.
Like,
that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I got some love for my Triceras in this house. I'm kind of a Tricera stay-go enjoyer myself, and so I'm gonna gamble. I'm gonna say it's Tricera.
Okay.
I think some of that damage when the enemy is like running into you and trying to stop your payload in desperation when you're about to win the game, that's when Tricera just cooks and eats, man. Like, the enemy coming into you, those double chain guns, the howitzer comes out, you start popping down damage. I want to watch some Tricera gameplay, man. I gotta say, I'm a real enjoyer of the turret-based characters here in Mecha Break.
Yeah. How much the past 2 days have done to you, Jake?
I've changed, man. I've changed. For the better, for the worse. It's up for the fans to decide. Curious to see get those post-game stats. Curious to see the very different stats and MVP look that we get in this map. It looks like it will be Yachty on the MVP.
I'll take that. I mean, Yachty was playing like a man possessed. I want to take a look at the numbers, though.
600K direct.
Whoa! Where are you looking? Help me out.
I mean, that 600K direct damage is massive.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's damage on real health bar. So Yachty, I mean, we talked about it. Right? We on his cam, he's just like focus firing somebody when they were low. That was really, I think, the strategy for Team Reject. They're all in on this heavy tank style, holding down the objective, but then Yachty is able to actually turn that, you can pump a lot of damage on those tanks, but, finishing off kills when opponents run away, very difficult for you. So I think that's what allowed Yachty to shine in this game on the Aquila, the comfort pick. Remember, this was banned in map 1, respect ban really from MDY, and then Yachty comes out on the signature Aquila in map 2 and speaks for itself.
Yeah,
10-0.
Didn't even go down. I wasn't looking at the KDAs across the board for Reject, but I don't think a lot of them died, period. Now that I'm
that's the power of their setup, right? I love the strategy with like 4 heavy tank brawlers, especially